Hi, I'm Carolyn Clark with Rocket Realty and your hostess with the mostest with Roanoke After 5. And today I'm sitting here with Aron Phillips with the law office of Aron Phillips. And Aron is going to be sponsoring us at our October 28th event here at the Brass Tap. So Aron, tell me a little bit about you and what do you do?
I'm an attorney, so I mostly focus in the area of business law. My firm started about 3 years ago. I jumped out on my own, and so we focus, the big three, what I say is why people find me is they're starting a business, so that I help them form an LLC or buy-sell agreement. They're buying or selling a business, so they're expanding or they're getting out, or they've got a major real estate transaction, so they need a lease reviewed and negotiated, or they're buying a building and they need that paperwork, like title work and contracts reviewed and negotiated.
Gotcha. How did you get into that area of law?
Well, I knew from pretty early after law school that I didn't want to focus on litigation. Certain kinds of personalities I think do better in litigation.
That's true.
It's definitely a higher level of stress, but also a higher level of demand on your time. And because you're always under deadlines, there can definitely be some gamesmanship and gotcha moments with attorneys working the system and doing what they can for their clients, but that means you on the other side need to be prepared. And to me, wanting to be able to have time for a family and be the kind of person that I wanted to be outside of being an attorney, focusing on litigation didn't make sense. So then I looked at, okay, what other areas of law make the most sense? And with business law in particular, I think it also suits my personality because growing up, I was always the one of my friends that would really enjoy complex rule games, read rule books. I read rule books for fun sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't mean like Monopoly, the rule books are like 5 pages. I'm talking rule books that were hundreds of pages.
Dungeons and Dragons? And that
so when I was a teenager, I got into those, but there's also dozens of other ones.
Yes.
There's one for Star Wars, one for Lord of the Rings, there's one for Samurai, there's one for just all kinds of different worlds that people have created.
Oh, that's really interesting.
And I would read them for fun sometimes, never even playing a session or anything with friends with them. I just thought it was interesting to see how the rules were put together. And when you think about it, contracts are really just rule books for that relationship. So I read those and help people negotiate them, modify them, and think about what they need to protect themselves.
Okay, so you don't live in Roanoke, but you're close by. I see you around town networking all the time. Tell me about the business that you're doing in this area. I mean, what brought you to the area?
Before I started my own firm, the firm I was working for was in Southlake, and when I jumped out on my own, my office started out there. Now we're over in Fort Worth. I just saw the Metroport area, the area surrounding Roanoke, as an area that's got a lot of growth that's occurring, and also being younger, I looked in Southlake and I looked in other directions, and it was like there's a lot of lawyers already in the Grapevine Chamber and the HEB Chamber, and there were a lot less out in the Metroport area. So I felt like that was an area where I could make a name for myself, and really where my networking would be useful and pay off, and it would be easier to get to know people. Whereas in those other areas, there's 30 or 40 law offices, and it would be a lot harder to make a mark.
Yeah, I totally get that. So is there anything big or special going on at your firm right now that you would want to let our audience know about?
We don't necessarily offer any specials or discounts or things like the happy hour that we see on the wall here.
There's not a law happy hour?
No.
Oh, there ought to be.
But I've got some interesting cases and things. I suppose one interesting case recently is that there's a funeral home that decided to say, we'll take care of the autopsy for a particular person, and they coordinated it all, and then they never paid the autopsy company. So this person had to pay the autopsy company themselves, and they'd already paid the funeral home for that service. So now we're having to dispute with the funeral home.
Oh, it's always fun when people don't pay their bills, right?
Yeah, getting that money back. So always be careful, who you're doing business with. That's just something interesting going on that popped up recently.
So I understand that you might be bringing a door prize to the networking event next Thursday.
Yes, I would be bringing a bottle of whiskey.
So lawyers like whiskey? Is that
most lawyers like whiskey. Bourbon, probably. I'm drinking a dark beer here.
Yeah,
a lot of lawyers like IPAs, but I'm a dark beer kind of guy. So
very cool. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us today, Aron, and we really look forward to seeing you at Roanoke After 5 on October 28th at the Brass Tap.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.